There's a French philosopher, I can't think of his name, it's not Descartes, it's Pascal, Louis Pascal, who said that all the troubles of, this was in the 17th century, all the troubles of man come from his not knowing how to sit still. The 17th century French Catholic philosopher and mathematician. All the troubles of man come from his not knowing how to sit still. And that's Buddhist, right down the line. Most of your troubles come from not knowing how to sit still. If you just learn how to sit still and make your mind peaceful, your business would go well. You would know how to be mindful, how to care. There's this beautiful story I've been telling people during the interviews, which runs my life, which is in my book, which I've told many times before, but this is one powerful story about how to practice Buddhism, Dhamma, meditation in your daily life. The Emperor's 3 questions. What's the most important time? Now. Who's the most important person? You don't know this one, that's wrong. You are not the most important person. The person you're with, yeah. Now that's really, really important. So that when I'm sitting in there in that interview room and someone comes up to me, I always remember that. It's almost second nature now. When you're sitting in front of me, hopefully you've recognized I'm giving you 100% full attention. When you're in front of me, as far as I'm concerned, you are the only person in the world. And I fully focus. And the most important thing to do is to care. Being caring, being careful. The Emperor's 3 questions, you can use that as your motto for your company, for your family, for your life. Now is the most important time. So in your business, now's the time to do it. Don't wait till tomorrow. If you're with a client, make sure that you really think that they are the most important person in the world, and they will feel it. They will know that you're a business which cares about them. Not only that, because you're caring for them, because they're the most important person, you listen to them. You understand what they're saying. So often we miss opportunities in business because we don't know our customers' needs. You've got to listen carefully to get those needs. And if you're with your employee, and you say they're the most important person in the world, that employee will work for you even harder. On the wall in my hut, I've got a little article which was in the, I think, British Institute of Engineering magazine. They were giving the awards for the best engineering companies. The company which won the award that year was a company which banned overtime. Absolutely refused anyone to do more than, I think, 45 hours a week was the max. And they found, because of that, they had hardly any staff turnover. All the staff stayed. All the staff didn't hardly take much sick leave at all. They worked even harder, they were more efficient, because if the company cared for them, they were going to care for that company. The profits doubled. Do you understand sort of economics? That makes so much sense. A company is the people who work for it. It's not just the boss. It's not just the product you sell. It's how you sell it. And if your people who are working for you are really caring, because you care for them, you are going to do well. You're going to have your competitive advantage, the people working for you. It's the same in your family. If you want to have cooperation in your family, the Emperor's 3 questions. The one you're with, whether it's your little child, your husband, your wife, whoever it is, your grandparent, if they're the one in front of you, they're the most important person in the world, please care for them. That's called mindfulness. It's called letting go of the past and the future. It's called focusing. All the techniques you've been learning in this meditation retreat, you take them and you use them according to the Emperor's 3 questions. You will be successful. And in your relationships, if you're with your partner, when you're with the partner, when you first get married, yeah, they are the most important person in the world for you. But after 2 or 3 years, that's only her again. That's only him. How many of you have been in a relationship like that, where you think your partner takes you for granted? You know how horrible that feels. It's important. The Emperor's 3 questions. The one you're with is the most important person in the world. Please care. And then you'll have a wonderful time with your husband or wife. You'll actually have success in your relationships, in your marriage, in your friendships, with your children. How often is it that children don't do what they're told? Why? Because the parents haven't really cared for them. I mean, spent time. Quality time. There's this old story I read some years ago about a man who came home from work. He came home late, he'd been working hard, he was so tired, as many of you are when you come home. After working hard, you've got to fight your way through the traffic, and you get back home, all you want to do is to relax. But his 6-year-old son said, "Daddy, how much do you earn per hour?" He said, "Oh, shut up, son, I'm tired." "Daddy, how many dollars do you earn each hour at work?" "Look, I told you, be quiet. I'm resting. It's got nothing to do with you." "Daddy, how much money do you make every hour?" And that was it. Because Daddy was tired, he was on a short fuse, as they said. He blew up at his son and said, "That's it. Get to your room. Stay. Don't ask me such stupid questions." So the poor little son went up to his room. He was grounded. When the father relaxed a bit more, he realized how unfair he'd been on his 6-year-old son. It wasn't his 6-year-old son's fault, it was just he was tired. So when he relaxed more, he decided to go up to his son's room and say sorry. He went up into that room, knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" "Yes." "I'm sorry, son. I blew up at you because I had a very difficult day at work. I'm very tired. So if you really want to know, I don't know why a 6-year-old son wants to know how much I earn at work. But it's actually $20 an hour." And the son smiled. And he looked at his father and said, "Can I borrow $10, Dad?" And his father almost exploded again. But because he was feeling remorseful about how he treated his son earlier, he said, "Okay, I don't know what a 6-year-old wants with $10, but here it is." And he gave a $10 Australian note to his son. And his son smiled and reached under his pillow and with coins and other notes got out another $10. He counted them in front of his father. 1, 2, 3, 10, $20. And he gave it to his father and said, "Daddy, can I please have 1 hour of your time?" Isn't that a sad story? But it's a story of our modern times. This child who had to buy attention of his father with $20. And now, please, if you want to have a happy family, if you want to look after your children, you can find that time. If you know about the present moment, how to let go, how to know priorities, how to be wise. And that way you will have good children. If you don't give that hour to your children now, you'll spend many hours worrying about your child later on when he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and has all these problems and difficulties in life. It's an investment for their future and your peace of mind. So this is how we learn from our meditation. But when you're meditating here, please don't just leave it in this meditation hall. When you go home, take that meditation back there with you. So find a time, whether you've got a cupboard in your house, clean it out and that's your cupboard, and get your wife or your husband or even your kids to lock you in there every day. Even in schools in Australia, we teach meditation to schools. Every time we do this, one of my disciples who's a teacher does this, and it's so good. The first disciple who did this in her grade 6 in one of the schools, she had to be very careful. She didn't call it meditation because There were some Christians in that school who thought that might be religious, so she just called it quiet time. Exactly the same, but calling it quiet time. She gave the kids 5 minutes at the start of the year to meditate, quiet time. Of course, there's always 1 or 2 kids who would never close their eyes, look around and start giggling, but that only lasted a few days, and then they all settled into meditation. And they worked up to about 50 minutes or 20 minutes by the end of the year. And when I went to give a talk at that school, I had tea with the headmaster, the principal, and he was just praising this disciple, Kerry her name was, praising and praising and praising. He said, this meditation is so wonderful, he says, because having been in the education system for so many years, being a principal, he said that class, you could actually see just how the learning improves, how the concentration improves, they're able to assimilate knowledge and use it so much more efficiently. He said he didn't believe in it at first, but he saw the results. And not only that, they had some interesting side effects as well. Whenever there was any problem in the class, some arguments, one of the children would always put their hands, Miss, can we have quiet time? And they'd stop and have quiet time for 5 minutes, and all of the tension in the classroom would disappear. It was a way of conflict resolution, as well as a way of learning. And also, I've taught you some loving kindness. That loving kindness flows automatically from a peaceful mind. They all found that those children in the class actually cared for each other much more. They were more sensitive. If ever was a child having a hard time, others would go around that child and help them and care for them. It was natural. So even in a classroom you can teach meditation. So sometimes you say, well, should I force my children to meditate? Actually, you don't need to. In many occasions, some of my disciples who have children, they set up their meditation area in their house. Sometimes it's just 2 cushions next to their bed where they can meditate in the morning. One of them told me that they had 2 children, so a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they had a fight in front of the house. You know, kids are being kids, a bit of jealousy. Someone said this, someone punched them there or something. And this little girl, only 4 years of age, ran into the house crying. She ran into the house, and guess where she ran? Into the parents' bedroom and sat on the meditation stool. She knew that it was a place of quiet and peace to go when there's any problems or trouble. No one told her that. She felt it. And so again, the parents told me, he said, it's amazing. I don't need to tell my child whenever she's upset. She just runs in there and wants to sit on my meditation place. Has the energy. So having a little meditation place in your home is very important. A place where you can sit when you're upset. It's much cheaper to put a little bit of your room as your temple, as your meditation area, when you get upset, than pay all the fees for a divorce lawyer. When you have an argument with your husband, with your wife, instead of arguing back, they will get you nowhere. Go and run to your meditation corner or your cupboard. Sit on there and be quiet. And you find afterwards it's so easy to make up. So these are strategies for life. Meditation is not just for the temple, not just for monks. It's for everybody. That's why it's just so popular, gaining in popularity. So much so that's why we're building a meditation centre in Perth. It's not because we're building a meditation centre and then want to get the people. The people are already there. They're queuing up. I gave one meditation retreat a year ago. We were going to open the registrations at 6:45. There was already a queue by 6:30. The people who came after 6:30 joined the end of the queue. They didn't get on. They were just too late. You had to come not on time, half an hour early to get on the retreat. Sometimes it's like that. And why is it like that? Because it works. You get incredible peace, wisdom, energy, love, kindness. And hopefully many of you have got a taste of that on this retreat. On this retreat, I've taught it in a different way than you may have been used to before. This is a kind, soft, compassionate retreat because I know from experience if I encourage you rather than make you afraid, I get much more out of you. If I had made this a strict retreat, everybody had to be here by 5 o'clock, otherwise I'd send people to your room and embarrass you in public. You had to sit absolutely still for 50 minutes and then walk. And anybody not sitting properly, get the Zen sit, whack. You would not have got so peaceful. you would not have sat so long. Even I saw that sometimes at 10 o'clock it's supposed to be lights out, but people still kept on meditating. Sometimes outside, sometimes up the top there. I noticed this when I had a strict schedule. When it got to 10 o'clock, everyone left. Because they were afraid they had to be up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. If I didn't go to bed now, I won't be up in the morning. When I took all of those constraints off, made it more free, people would meditate according to their nature. And they'd always meditate much more. They had no fear. Okay, they can meditate to 11 or 12, 1 o'clock, they can always sleep later on. When they weren't pushing themselves, when they weren't having fear from me, there was more letting go, more release, more peace. So I did this for a purpose, as I always do, to learn you how to find peace. It's not with controlling, it's with letting go. Just because I didn't control you on this retreat, I didn't shout at you, I didn't tell you, you must sit now. Every time you went into that interview room, I was always encouraging you. I never called any of you stupid. Always encouraging, always supporting. That is the way to get the best out of people. If you have a business, encourage your staff. Very, very rarely criticize them. Encourage them. Focus on their good qualities, build those up. You will find that they will want to work for you. In your relationship, encourage your partner, encourage your children. Then they will want to work harder. There's nothing worse than having a boss always criticizing you, always telling you what you're doing wrong. You don't want to work for them anymore. If you do work, you're just so afraid you can't really relax and do your very best. In a relationship, husband, wife, even kids, encourage, and they will always try and do their best for you. They won't be afraid of you. They will know that you are on their side. And this is the way I've taught the retreat. You haven't forced your meditation. At least those of you who've got success in meditation haven't forced it. It's come naturally. You've encouraged yourself. And you've got results. In the same way you learn how to get results out of your mind in meditation, the same method works to get results out of your relationships. The same method works to get results out of your company. My company, my monastery, is very successful. So is my meditation. So is my relationships with you, my friendship. I use the same principle. It's called Dhamma. So by making these points, you can see that this teaching is not just for the temple. It's for your daily life and also for your business as well. So what you've learned here this week is not just for your Nibbana, it's what's going to happen till you get that Nibbana. It's for the journey as well as the destination. So you'll find that what you do here will give you much happiness and peace. Sometimes you don't realize this until you go home. Sometimes you don't realize how much you've changed. Sometimes it's your family and relations tell you how much you've changed. There was a disciple who always wanted to go on one of our weekend retreats. He couldn't afford, actually it wasn't his, couldn't afford, his wife wouldn't let him go on a long retreat. But he kept on asking his wife, can we go on a weekend retreat? His wife said, no, you can't. Because the weekend retreats on that time of the week in Australia, that was the time the family did the shopping. There was all these events for the children, sports, swimming. That's when they had to do the housework, the washing, the maintenance of the house, the gardening work. And so the wife said, look, there's too much going on the weekend. You know, I've got to take the kids to tennis. I've got to go to the shops. I've got to, you've got to clean out the garage. There's too much to do. You can't go. So he never went. He asked again the next time, can I go? He kept on asking. He was very persistent. And one day, he was so persistent, his wife got so fed up with him, she said, okay, you go off and leave me with the housework, with the kids, with the washing, with the cleaning. Go and be selfish. You go off. So he did. Now the point was that after the retreat was finished, it was only a weekend, ended on Sunday afternoon. When he got home, he was such a changed husband. He was just so nice, so soft. His wife was so impressed that when he turned up for the next retreat, he told us